What is going on, everyone? If you've been following the channel, you just know that college basketball to me is one of my favorites, and day one of March Madness is the best national holiday that there possibly is. This is the best day on earth. Number one, day one of March Madness. Now, countering that, I will say today, the moral of the story for me was when it came to these 16 games, the underdog hung in there. That's really what it was. Some of the bottom end teams, they fought hard. That was the biggest takeaway for me. Now, of course, there's outliers. There's teams like Kansas, Kentucky, Gonzaga, Michigan, who just took care of business. And you see that in the first round, of course, with some squads that just can't compete at that level. But then there was also outliers to the point of John Morant. Are you kidding me with what Murray State did to Marquette? I thought that was too easy of a pick because everyone was picking the underdog in that matchup. Murray State. Have you seen John Morant playing? Yeah, I have. But I've seen Marquette play too. I've seen Howard play as well. And Murray State just absolutely dominated. My man gets a triple-double. He was elite today. He was a stud today. This is the first triple-double in 7 years since Draymond Green did it. He was unbelievable, and his stat line read 17 points, 16 assists, and 11 rebounds. He just worked his magic. He wasn't forcing shots. You take a look at his shot selection. He did what he needed to do. He has great vision on the floor. When the other team was pretty much playing him tough and hard, he used his vision and made it happen. He was just outstanding all over the floor. And Howard on the other end, yeah, he finished with 26 points, but he took 27 shots. They just made it hard. Murray State made it hard for Howard to do anything. That was the biggest matchup of the day on paper, in my opinion, heading into the day, was how these two stars in college basketball are going to perform with each other. And whoa, John Morant just totally blew it out of the water. This kid is special, and I can't wait to see his matchup against, who do they play? Florida State, of all teams. That I can't wait to see that happen on Saturday. That's going to be electric. Number two on the menu for me was obviously seeing Villanova hold off Mount St. Mary's, because they're a good team. They're well coached. They're coming off of a nice tournament run for their conference, and that wasn't a first draw that was easy. That wasn't an easy first matchup in the first round, and Villanova, with their experience with Jay Wright, their three leaders stepped up. Jay Wright, Booth with 20, and Pascal. Those three guys stood up and really helped this team win a basketball game. A veteran leadership stepped up to win the basketball game, and I'm very proud of Villanova, and they move on to the next round where they're going to have a tough one against Purdue, who just escaped from an Old Dominion team. I mean, they were definitely in control. Old Dominion made a run. I'm not sold on this Purdue team, whether they get by Villanova or not. I don't think this is the best Villanova team that we've seen. They obviously lost 4 of their starters to the NBA, and it's a very young squad for what we're used to seeing out of Villanova. I'm not sold on this Purdue team that they can really make a legit run, so that's going to be an interesting matchup in the next round also. And Wofford. Wofford's the third big takeaway for me. They were unbelievable. Fletcher Magee, are you kidding me? Setting a record and just destroying NCAA records when it comes to the three-point game. He was unreal. They went on a 15-0 run at the back end of this game against Seton Hall to seal the deal and essentially blow them out after it being a really close game. Him and Hoover down the stretch were just knocking threes down for Wofford, and they were playing electric basketball. And for Seton Hall, you have Miles Powell be the only effective guy out there. He's the only guy that you can really run anything off of, and it makes it easy to defend. Now, he held his team in there as long as he possibly could, but when you go on that big stretch of not scoring runs for 4 or 5 minutes late in the the second half, you're not going to be good enough to win the basketball game, and that's reality. So Wofford with a crazy W. So those are the outliers on both sides. You had the big blowouts, and then you had the John Morant storylines, the Wofford storylines. But in the middle, the big takeaways for me was it was the underdog and the smaller teams fighting and staying in games. There were chances for some of these teams to win. New Mexico State over Auburn. They had a great look at the buzzer with 1.1 second left. They actually had free throws where they could have taken the lead late in the game, and they get fouled on a three. I mean, the New Mexico State had a chance to take down Auburn, and they didn't execute. So at the end of the day, they held in there and fought hard, but didn't have enough. You also had, what was the big one? Bradley over Michigan State. They were battling in there. Not so much to the extreme of Belmont over Maryland. Belmont also had a chance to win the basketball game. They had the last possession. They try and do too complex of a play late where they're trying to go across the court on a pass that got intercepted, and it was just not a good enough play there late. And they ran so much clock off the time where they should have probably had a play drawn up where if they were to miss, they would have a more time to make something happen. Belmont had a chance to really take down Maryland, and I'm not sold on Maryland. I don't think they're very good. They're fragile. That's what they really are. They're a fragile team. I can't see them going far. Belmont had a chance to really take it to them and steal one, but they didn't. And Belmont's coming off of a really nice win against Temple in the first 4 game to really show that they can hang. They're a good team, and they should have been able to beat Maryland today. I just didn't think they executed down the stretch. Vermont really battled with FSU. That's a 13-4 matchup, and Florida State is a really successful squad. They're a really good team, and Vermont battled with them for a majority of this basketball game before Florida State ended up pulling through. Now, they're a better team than Vermont, but those are examples of the bottom teams fighting as hard as they can, but coming up short. And you also have to give it to Yale, who really gave everything they had against LSU. They wouldn't give up, just knocking down shots late to keep the game somewhat going. And LSU ended up pulling through, which is an interesting storyline with their head coach and the NCAA violations and all that. So it's very interesting to see. There's also some other games that were thrown in there that wasn't really crazy to me, but on paper, upset alert, if you will. 7 Louisville falls to 10 Minnesota. I wasn't sold on Louisville all year long. You know, they get this coach in here, and it's a different culture now. They're a fragile team. They remind me similar of the Maryland thing. There's just something about the Louisville team that didn't stand out to me. They didn't have that it factor when you watch them play throughout the season, and it wasn't a big surprise that Minnesota took them down. Many can play. They have a really tough team, and they made it happen. So when you take a look at Saturday, by the way, Florida beat Nevada, and that's a good win. Florida's a team with some swag right now. A team with some swag. So looking at Saturday and the matchups we have, Baylor plays Gonzaga. And Baylor's coming off of a win against Syracuse. It was a boring game. Now, it was close, but just because of the style of play, the defense, the zone, it was just boring. I thought Baylor did do their homework. See, Syracuse is funny because, one, Boeheim wins in March. That's reality. He can have a mediocre squad and then go into March and win. But you don't really know what it's like to play against that zone until you play against it. And I thought Baylor did a great job of using the middle guy and kicking it out to the wing, and they were knocking down their shots. Baylor executed, and they got to play Gonzaga on Saturday. Minnesota plays MSU, so talk about a Big Ten matchup. Who's your daddy? What's he do? Wofford plays Kentucky, and this is a Kentucky team without P.J. Washington, who had a boot on, and then he had a hard cast on, and that's a big-time player. Now, will they be good enough to get past a Wofford team? I mean, I don't know. P.J. Washington is a big-time difference maker on that team, offensively and defensively, so it's interesting to see how that plays out. And this Wofford team really stunned me today. They put on one hell of a performance, and who knows without P.J. Washington. Florida plays Michigan. That's going to be a very entertaining game. Auburn and Kansas. Murray State, FSU. Maryland, LSU, which I think LSU should be able to handle that. And Villanova, Purdue are the matchups set for Saturday. So down below in the comments section, I want to know your thoughts on Ja Morant. I want to just hear your thoughts on today, day 1 of March Madness. What were your takeaways? My big 3 takeaways was Ja Morant, Villanova getting that big dub over a really good Mount St. Mary's team, and Wofford and Fletcher Magee and that squad. Everyone else, you know, you had your blowouts, which happens in the first round. You had your underdogs fighting and really, you know, giving it everything they have, their full 100%, but coming up short. There were opportunities for some big upsets. Bradley over MSU, they hung in there more than anyone would have expected for a 15-2 matchup. New Mexico State had a chance to win it at the buzzer against Auburn, which would have been crazy. Belmont should have beat Maryland. There were chances, but it didn't happen. So hopefully tomorrow on Friday, second day of the 16-game lineup. We see some big moments happen, some unreal buzzer beaters. Hopefully we get that. There's obviously some big games on the market. March Madness, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like March Madness. It's crazy because those 12 to 12, those however 12 hours that you sit there and you watch that basketball game, it flies by like that. It just flies by like that. And now that's all over, it's, oh, where's all the basketball? I need more basketball. Well, good thing I wake up and bang, 12 o'clock, I got more basketball in my life. Thank the Lord. That's how it works. That's why this is the best thing ever. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.